if you're putting off doing your taxes because you're worried about owing the government money, you're not alone. According to the CRA, 90% of Canadians pay their taxes as required each year. But what about the 10% who might have problems paying what they owe? Blair Mantin from Sands and Associates is here with tips for anyone concerned about how much they owe. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. My pleasure.
So Blair, tax debt has become increasingly common in Canada. How big of a problem is it?
Well, it's actually doubled in the last 10 years. If you can believe it, $38 billion is what we owe the government these days.
Gosh.
So it's a massive number, and it is accelerating. But, there are things you can do, and we're going to talk about that.
Okay, so then what are the most common ways that tax debts can arise?
Right. So in simple terms, how do you end up owing the government money? Well, a couple ways. One is if you're working multiple jobs. Now, this is often a fact of life in Vancouver, where a lot of people, they have to work a couple jobs to make ends meet. You might think you're doing a great thing, but you might actually not be getting deducted enough taxes from your second job. That might be pushing you into a higher tax bracket. At the end of the year, you might be getting a bill for taxes that should have paid all along the way.
Oh my goodness. Okay, that's not fun, because the only thing you look forward to about doing your taxes is that you might get some money back somewhere in there.
Right.
Okay, so you need to keep track of that, I guess.
Yeah, well, the answer there is ask your second employer to just deduct more taxes. You can do that at any point throughout the year. They'll withhold a little bit more each check, and then at the end of the year, you'll get a refund rather than actually owe a balance.
Okay, so why would a self-employed individual owe taxes?
Well, with self-employed, you've got a tougher job to do. The government's essentially outsourcing some of their work to you, meaning that you've got to collect some money that's supposed to go back to the government, like GST, for example, or like payroll source deductions. Now, what I see quite a bit in my job at Sands and Associates is a lot of folks, when things are tight and there's not enough money maybe to make payroll, they start to use the money that should have been sent to the government. Okay, government doesn't look too kindly about that, and unless you can get that money paid back pretty quickly, the government might be taking some steps against you. So it's the using of government money to finance operations that can really get you into trouble if you're self-employed.
I was going to say, that's definitely something that can land you in trouble, especially come tax time. Okay, so what can people do to avoid tax debt?
Well, one of the biggest things to do is, again, to really forecast your year. So to understand that enough tax is being deducted, to make sure that you consider, too, if you're doing other actions throughout the year, like withdrawing RRSPs, that you really consider the impact of that, because you might think you're doing a great thing cashing in your RRSPs, but they might not withhold enough taxes. Your financial institution is going to take 10 to 30% of it. It might not be enough. So you really make sure that you forecast the impact of your actions.
Okay, and is there like a strategy that's better than others to deal with?
Absolutely. So one strategy not to do is don't try to make a deal on the phone with CRA. It's just not going to happen. The person over the phone, they've got no authority to reduce the amount of debt that you owe. Maybe they'll help you with the interest, maybe not. But if you've got more taxes than you're able to pay, the #1 way to negotiate with CRA is to file a consumer proposal. Consumer proposal is only available through a licensed insolvency trustee. Usually you negotiate to pay back 30 to 50% of the debt, no interest over up to 5 years. You don't go bankrupt. The government doesn't seize anything from you. That's the way to go.
Okay, thank you so much for that information. Appreciate that, Blair.